Thank you, Kevin. We definitely will have Jake Fromm coming up at the helm for Georgia. It is a day where here in Athens they are celebrating Vince Dooley and Georgia's championship legacy. 25 years as the head coach, and after that as the athletic director, and the unveiling of the renamed Dooley Field at Sanford Stadium here this afternoon. A wonderful moment for Vince and his wife Barbara, their entire extended family. Each and every one of his 25 teams here at Georgia sent a captain, and they were out on the field pregame with their coach to celebrate that moment. I'm Beth Mowens along with Anthony Becht. We've got Rocky Boyman, and we've also got a team involved in a championship chase present day. You've got Murray State today, but you've got Notre Dame coming here in a couple weeks, Anthony. As always, you've got Alabama somewhere near the finish line.
When I was drafted to the NFL, they sat me down and said, by your third year, you need to be at your prime as a player. Well, this 2017 recruiting class, offense, you got Jake Fromm, DeAndre Swift. On defense, Monty Rice, Richard LeCount. It's their time. It's their time for this team to take that next step and lead them. I think these Georgia fans are going to be happy with what they see.
Well, speaking of one of those guys, Jake Fromm, 30th start today, the 3-year starter. He's fought off all challengers to lock down this job. He's gotten Georgia oh so close, and he's ready to go again to continue improving today.
He's been called the ultimate quarterback by his coaching staff. Listen, when you break this kid on tape, there's hard to find any flaws in his game. He is as smart as Andrew Luck or Peyton Manning is pre-snap. He's able to go out there, make and decisive all that he can do against the defense. And when he makes those plays, he's able to deliver the passes to take this team over the hump. And that's what you need if you want to make a national championship run.
24-5 as a starter, including the win last week over Vanderbilt. And here come the Dogs between the hedges. And how about one of, if not the greatest dog of them all, standing by right now with Rocky Boyman.
Beth, I'm down here with a guy that looks like he could still give the Dogs a few reps if he had to. The one and only Herschel Walker. Herschel, your former coach, Vince Dooley, just got honored. He had the field named after him. What sort of impact has Vince Dooley had on your life?
Well, Coach Dooley made a big impact in my life. You know, I was very fortunate to have a mom and dad that taught me the respect and the honor and, right from wrong. And I happened to go to a great coach that had those same principles, and he helped me to be a good man. And in a lot of speeches I do today, some of it I use from Coach Dooley.
So this Georgia team, the last 2 seasons, Herschel's been that close. What do you see about this team this year that can maybe be able to get them to that ultimate prize?
Well, what I see about this team, I think they're hungry, and that's what they got to be. But one thing they got to do, and people think Murray State going to be easy today, and as a guys, you got to remember these are athletes as well. And the way I always look at it, you put one guy in a room, and you're in the room with him, one of you got to come out. And I think Georgia got to realize right now we're the big dog. And if you realize that you're the big dog, every time you step out on this field, you got to be ready to play.
Speaking of big dogs, a four-headed monster in the backfield, your former position, what do you think about this running back core here at Georgia?
Well, I'm excited about it. To have University U here at the University of Georgia, and I was telling someone as a guys, this is absolutely incredible, and I was thinking about the Heisman Trophy. I'm always looking at Desmond and all the guys talking about the Heisman as a guys. Just because Swift and some of the running backs here are not putting up the yards and Fromm is not putting up the yards, they still should be considered because of what they're putting in and what they're doing for this team here.
Herschel, you're the best. Thank you.
Hey, thank you guys. Thank you guys.
Beth, no push-up contest with me and Herschel today. Maybe another time.
I don't think you'd beat Jake Fromm either. A big day here in Georgia. Fromm and the Dogs against Murray State. Kick is coming up. Back here in Athens, Georgia 1-0, Murray State 1-0. Racers in all white, they will kick it short. And it's fielded by Brian Harrion, and he's got some room. And he'll bring it all the way out to the 45-yard line. And a return of 22 yards, and that will set up the Bulldogs offense. 30 points a week ago in the win on the road at Vanderbilt. And here is Jake Fromm ready to go in the season home opener for the Dogs.
Hey guys, Jake Fromm here, junior quarterback from Warner Robins, Georgia. Today, the offensive goal is to play clean, execute.
his 30th career start. Last season, the second best in school history with a completion percentage of better than 67%. And he will open up with DeAndre Swift and James Cook in the backfield with him. And this is Cook with the catch, breaking a tackle across midfield and hauled down around the 36-yard line. And are picked up a 19. There is no flag that we see on the field at this point.
Pumping his arm.
Yeah, looking up at the clock right now. Steve Marlowe is our referee today.
Please reset the game clock to 14 minutes, 28 seconds.
A significant size advantage today for Georgia against Murray State, an FCS team coming in out of the Ohio Valley Conference, and a significant speed advantage as well, Anthony.
Keep an eye on Cook. He'll be in the backfield. He'll be in the slot. He'll go in jet sweep motion. He is really the joker or the wild card of this offense. And clearly, when you watch this football team, in my opinion, watch the big offensive linemen up front. We're going to talk about them quite a bit. But these are the guys right here. 69, 71 Thomas, Kinley, Hill, the center, Mays. You're going to see some incredible push up front from these guys. If you haven't watched O-line play this year, keep your eye on these after the snap of the ball, because these guys get some serious push.
Yeah, that biggest line in Georgia history. The one change, Isaiah Wilson is out with the sprained ankle at right tackle, so Jamari Salyer, they can just plug in another five-star guy.
Yeah,
they've got a couple more coming next year.
They lost 15 pounds. That's all they lost. He's still as big as any offensive lineman out there.
That's good news for Georgia with him coming back from injury out of Atlanta to join that group up front for Sam Pittman, their O-line coach.
Kirby's wondering who's on the clock management here to get this right. He's kind of disappointed on what's going on.
Well, there is Kirby Smart now in his 4th season. Of course, national runner-up 2 years ago after that electric Rose Bowl win to get into the championship, and the back-to-back SEC championship game trips. And on the other side, when Kirby was an assistant coach at Valdosta State, Mitch Stewart was a youngster on his team. His freshman year they were together. And last year, a 4th place finish in the OVC for the Racers. Of course, you may be familiar with their basketball team from this past winter, and Ja Morant made it to the 2nd round of the NCAA basketball tournament.
Clock to 14 minutes, 45 seconds.
Coach Stewart mentioned on our call, he said, listen, you're stepping into the ring and you're going to take some blows, but make sure you give some as well. He said, look, there's going to be some punches thrown in this game, a physical game. We got to go out there and take them and give them and match the effort that Georgia puts on this field today.
All right, we are ready to go now. The clock running, 20 seconds gone, and Fromm out of the gun with Swift beside him. Looking to the left, it's DeAndre out of the backfield at the 40, and down inside the 30-yard line, pushed out by Dior Johnson. How about today's Chick-fil-A impact players, Anthony?
Yeah, offensively, you saw one of them. You know, for me, Swift is an outstanding running back. He can catch the ball. He can run with it. Also, Robertson, he really stuck out in the tape last week. Linebacker for Murray State, Caddis. He's their leading returner from last year as a tackler, and they're looking to him to make big plays on the field.
Kieris Jackson, one of their starting receivers last week, out with a hand injury. So get a better look at their depth, and right now they are dominating up front. The helmet comes off of Kendrick Caddis on the carry by Swift. Then a gain of 9, first down.
An amazing push on the left side. Look at this, tight ends, tackles, double teams. Sometimes running backs don't get touched for 5 yards, Beth.
Anthony, you mentioned the size up front and the push of Georgia's line. Murray State is going to have to employ some movement, some stunts, some twists, something like that to try to confuse that O-line.
They'll spread it out with the 4 wides. Simmons and Robertson both to the right. Fromm will look the other way. The throw to the end zone, incomplete, and a flag down. receiver, and Quinaz Turner had a hold of his jersey.
Pass interference, defense number 37. 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Turner kind of lost track of the receiver here. Thought he was maybe going to stop. Turns around, gets his hand and pulls the receiver. Didn't have to do that. Ball was thrown really uncatchable, but again, just move. Those little things right there from a secondary, you have to be careful. Making them plays gives them a free first down and closer to the goal line.
Well, they had two backs out there. Now they'll switch it up and go two tight ends. Right up the middle, Swift with a big hole, touchdown Georgia. Kinley and Hill and Mays leading the charge right up the gut for 6.
A lot of push. Rocky talked about it's going to be tough for Mary State up front, especially in those goal line situations, to hold up. They're going to have to change and move and misdirect.
Blankenship's extra point is good. 158th in a row for Rodrigo, and that was quick for Swift and the Dogs. 4 plays, 56 yards in under a minute and a half. Is it the best offensive line in the country? They sure looked like they're on the short list after that drive. Just how big? How about this big?
I'll tell you, I mean, look at all the weight. 320 on the outside. Thomas, one of the highest ranked NFL guy prospects coming out. Kinley, another experienced starter. Trey Hill comes in, and you think you get a little later. You don't. It actually goes up. K. Mays, another big guy. Just a lot of strength, a lot of power. 1,643 pounds of pressure. Then add the force coming off. And then watch these guys come off the ball. A lot of white jerseys getting pressed back, making it easy for Georgia to score.
Cade Mays was actually able to block 2 guys, and over on the left side, there's Andrew Thomas. Mel Kiper is his preseason big board, guys he's looking at as the best in their position. He says Thomas is the best tackle, Solomon Kinley the best guard of the underclassmen that could come out. And that's some fun with their national championship team from 1980, and just how much bigger the guys are now.
A lot of punch being packed up front. I think too, Beth, when you watch them, the biggest thing is they get so aggressive, so strong up front. In pass protection sometimes, they get a little top heavy, and that's something to watch. Last week against Vanderbilt, they had some ups and downs in those protection areas, and I think that's something that they'll get better at. They are swift on their feet, a la Swift there, taking a drink to cool himself down on this very hot day, which these Georgia players are contending with.
93 degrees at kick. Something, though, that a lot of people, we like to talk about depth, but for Kirby Smart and his 2 new coordinators, James Coley on the offensive side and Dan Lanning on the defensive side, they love to use the word competitive. There is literally competition at almost every spot on the field, offensively and defensively, for the Dogs. Every day you're fighting for your spot.
Every practice is like a game, and I think that's the way you treat it, and that's what's great when you have some of the best recruits in the country coming every year.
Coach Smart talked about, we want to play to our standard, not worried about who we're facing week to week. Play up to our standard and make sure we're getting better and improving every day. And so that is the focus. You got Arkansas State next week, then you've got what will be an absolute monster mash here in a few weeks when Notre Dame comes to town in prime time. Focus trying to keep it on simply getting better every day. DeQuan Dallas and Quinaz Turner are the deep men here for the Racers. And the boot through the back of the end zone. And for the Racers, the winner last week in their season opener, they beat Pikesville 59-20. And it was the debut of their sophomore quarterback, Preston Rice, out of Waynesboro, Tennessee. Had a couple of touchdown passes. And a big step up in competition today against this Georgia defense. They're going to spread you. They're going to go quick. They're going to try up tempo, 5 wide to open things up. Looking to throw over the top, almost intercepted. Lurking back there was Richard LeCount, couldn't hold it.
Yeah, they're going to try to run a play after each finish at 15 seconds. That's really fast. That's going to really push some of these defensive linemen up front for Georgia. I really liked Rice last week in his game. Does a nice job. Didn't want to start off with the pick there. It's a heck of a job. You see the range by Richard LeCount there, one of the best safeties in the country next to J.R. Reed, number 20, his partner in crime.
Flip ball in reverse and a run out of bounds. Sylvon Turner, senior out of Huntsville, Alabama. They got running backs at wide out. They got wide receivers that'll come into the backfield. And especially in this heat, Mitch Stewart gonna run in a lot of different guys to give him a chance. Check to the sideline on 3rd and 9. Blitz coming from the edge. Rice caught underneath, a broken tackle and a first down. Daquan Green, the junior out of Tampa's got it, and a pickup of 13.
He's a transfer from Florida. They got some players that have played at high-level competition.
Quick tempo here. Rodney Castile out of Jackson, Tennessee. Ran for 63 yards and scored a couple of times last week.
And guys, you'll notice the ball carrier for Murray State, every time they get tackled, they immediately turn to the referee and hand the ball because they want to try to go fast. Looks like right now they may slow it down a little bit.
They send 4 wide to the left. More pressure coming. Rice in trouble. Corralled and down he goes. Jermaine Johnson, the first guy there for the sack. And a loss of 12.
Yeah, #1 recruit, JUCO recruit in the country, coming off the edge. And listen, you know, when you got extra bodies coming off, you see the strong safety come down the box. And Sam, you got to press it down as an offensive line. The quarterback has the outside defender there. They did not have a hot read in place and not able to bring it down.
3rd and 19 now for Preston Rice. Little receiver screen. And out to about the 34-yard line. And the Georgia defense will force the punt.
Tremendous amount of speed on defense for Georgia. A lot of veteran players for Georgia. You're going to see a lot of eye candy from Murray State, as well as with the tempo. Just got to locate the football and be great tacklers in space. That'll be the difference in this game. How well can you tackle in space in the perimeter for Georgia's defense?
Tyler Simmons is back deep. And now they're going to bring the quarterback up, Preston Rice, and a quick timeout called by Georgia, as there was not a punter in sight. And we'll take the timeout as well. Early 7-0 lead for Georgia. Looks like Uga's got an extra ice bag or two in the doghouse today. Hot temps all across the southeast and over into Austin, Texas. Over 100 degrees getting set for Texas and LSU tonight, 7:30 on ABC. Rocky, you're down there. What you got for us?
I think it's officially 93, but probably a little warmer down here on the field. And both coaches were very aware of the heat. Mitch Stewart, head coach Murray State, he said he's going to travel 81 players to deal with that heat. And you already see on Georgia's defensive line rotating in a lot of guys. And they have the luxury to do that because they've got a lot of good-looking athletes on that side of the ball.
Out of the timeout here, Steve Dawson now back to punt with Simmons, the deep man. Just does get it away. It's a good one. Chases Simmons back to his own 15. And a punt of 50 yards, a return of 7. And that's where Georgia will take over. Well, speaking of that LSU-Texas game, they're coming up on the 40 acres, 7:30 Eastern tonight, 4:30 Pacific. It's Saturday Night Football presented by Wells Fargo, and you can also stream that live on your ESPN app. The top 10 showdown in Austin tonight, Anthony.
Yeah, I mean, look, both of those teams played lesser opponents. Southern for LSU and La Tech for Texas. This is a matchup that, you know, for me is a very good contest. This definitely has some bragging rights for both conferences, and I think if you look at Texas, they may need this a little more than LSU.
Yeah, Sam Ellinger and Joe Burrow going head-to-head. The Minister of Culture, Matthew McConaughey, with the pick of the Longhorns.
Obviously, yeah.
Today on game day. Coach went with LSU, though, with the Tiger head.
He did, and then
Coach
Matthew
Corso
ripped that head, that Tiger head, and chucked it into the crowd. So he was going to rip Corso's head up on that one. He was pulling that thing off pretty hard.
Well, we've already seen a solid rotation of different guys at wide receiver. At tailback, it's DeAndre Swift right now. Second and 7, little jet sweep for Cook. Nice block on the edge and out close to the 40-yard line. That was the tight end, Charlie Werner, the senior out of Tiger, Georgia, and a gain of 15.
Yeah, the brother of Dalvin Cook, and he runs just like his brother, but he is so active for this offense. You can utilize him in so different spots. He's very slippery as a player. He's got tremendous speed. Someone, to me, that changes the complexion of this offense.
Good block, too, by Lawrence Cager, the transfer from Miami. At 6'5", one of their new wideouts. They lost a bunch, of course, with Riley Ridley, Mecole Hardman, Terry Godwin all off to the NFL. Play action here for Fromm. A lot of time deep down the middle, and it's busted up at the 10-yard line. Intended for Cager, and it was Nigel Walton coming over to make the play.
The backside as well, you had number 37 Turner, who I think Fromm was trying to beat him with the pass. He gets all the way across the field and able to get there on that point to knock it down. So we talked to Fromm. He said, listen, I look at defenses, when I break them down, it's all about rules, right? So every time someone comes, someone has to drop, or somebody rolls, they have to do something else. So he's going to live and die by those. It's going to be key for Murray State to change those rules today.
Second and 10. Swift with the short gain. It'll be third down. Kirby Smart yesterday in the meetings, Anthony, said he wasn't concerned about the third down last week. He knows they've got a chance to work on it today. But nonetheless, the numbers weren't impressive. 1 for 7 there later in the game.
It's one game, but again, it's something you have to kind of continue to work on. They had a couple 3rd and 1s. You could think you'd be able to execute that with all that weight up front, the offensive line. Vanderbilt was able to stop them. So again, there's some improving areas that they had in the game that they're going to try to get better at today.
Fromm on third down, pressured and sacked. Anthony Copeland-Akis, the middle linebacker. And a loss of 9 and a 4th down.
Well, you know, one issue last week was the twist, and this is something Murray State just brings some interior linemen, twists them, and the offensive line weren't able to get off last week. It looks like it's still an early problem up front. You see them as they're trying to twist around, and they just can't get off it and stay on their block, and another unwanted hit again this week on Jake Fromm early in this game.
So Jake Camarda will punt it away. Castile with a spin, he'll get out across the 25. 8-yard return. Got a very special guest, Mr. Vince Dooley, when we return.
ESPN College Football, brought to you by Ice Cold Dr. Pepper, the official drink of Fansville.
A wonderful celebration pregame and throughout the day here in Athens for Vince Dooley and the newly named Dooley Field at Sanford Stadium. 25 years as the head coach, long time as the athletic director as well. And a young Vince Dooley arrived here, Coach, what was it, back in 1963. And a lot of the changes around here, you had a lot to do with that. What are you most proud of to be a Georgia Bulldog?
Well, you don't have time for me to tell you all the things that I'm proud of. We got all day,
Coach. We got all day.
I'm proud of the stadium. And, of course, very proud of the field being named after me. Not so much for me, but for all the players that I had the privilege of coaching during that 25-year period, and to see all the captains out there. We had a great event last night, and I've never seen a get-together, homecoming like that. Everybody was happy there, and primarily because they felt a part of it, which they were a part of it. They actually made it happen. So, anyway, and it's a great crowd here, and Murray State is looking pretty good.
No, look at you. You're still coaching. We love it.
Yeah.
A lot has changed over the years. The players, the game, a lot of the times changed. But what never changed when you were coaching and teaching here with Georgia?
Well, the basics of football will never change. Tackling, blocking, conditioning, playing as a team. All of those things that will transcend time. Everything else is more sophisticated, more athletes, bigger athletes, but those old fundamentals will never change.
Coach, congratulations on a stellar career. I know you have a lot of great moments on this field, but is there anything that stuck out to you that you just had maybe some flashbacks when you were down there and they had that ceremony that meant something deeply to you from a moment on one of their games?
Well, the ones I remember, great play. Look at there.
There goes Murray State.
Yeah.
Breaking free for a touchdown.
Yeah. We better get ready to play here. Often happens.
60 yards on that score.
Great, wonderful pass. Great play.
Yeah, looks like the corner falls down here.
Yeah.
Trying to get the tackle. And J.R. Reed's a little bit out of place at the safety position. And that's Daquan Green, former Florida Gator player. So he's got that kind of speed, SEC speed. They got to watch for him in the second catch.
There's so many of those teams that have that, like Georgia State, the quarterback. There's so many athletes, and they can go to a lot of different places and have a great day if you're not ready to play them. And they can have upsets like Georgia State had last week.
Timeout. Murray State, their first of the first half.
Well, Murray State will call a timeout. That was a quick strike, 3 plays, 72 yards. So both teams have scored in under a minute and a half on their drives. More with Coach Dooley back here in Athens in a moment. Well, they decided to play a little early coming out of that commercial timeout. We can tell you, obviously, the extra point was good. We are all even at 7 apiece. Georgia and Murray State on this hot, steamy Saturday afternoon in a celebration for Vince Dooley. It is now Dooley Field at Sanford Stadium. And when we left, Coach, Anthony was talking about a fond memory or two that you have from your days right down there between the hedges.
Those kind of things will make me remember playing teams that you're not ready to play, and it can almost get beat. So we better turn it up a notch, and I think we will, because this team has great potential. But we've had a lot of wonderful games, and I guess one of the greatest spectator games is that we played Georgia Tech 29-28 to go for 2, and the lead changed hands 7 times. I didn't like it as a coach, but as a spectator, it was a great game.
It was better to watch the next day, right?
Right.
Coach, I got to have a bit of a fun side. I read that you and your wife went to Europe for a couple weeks and had a good time over there. Any sightseeing things that you remember that was great?
Well, I've never, we got an onside kick here. No.
Just kicking it short.
Yeah.
Trying to short.
All right, I got to get out of watching this game.
You can say just call the whole game for us if you want.
All right. No, we went to Eastern Europe. I've never had a chance to be there. I've been all over Europe. I love to travel. I love to study what happened. And I was very concerned and never had a wrap around the Balkan War and the Civil War that took place as a breakup of Yugoslavia. So I spent most of my time doing that.
Nice.
So I enjoy doing it.
So you remember some of these moments?
History, along with a little Georgia history. Of course, folks will always remember the 1980 national championship team, and Herschel and Buck Bellew and Lindsey Scott, and now Scott Werner's nephew playing on this current team.
Coach, what do you think he could have done with some of these offensive linemen weighing 330 pounds? When you were coaching, I mean, come on, it's like the holes are huge.
Yeah. You know, you talked about not having any depth. They got two lines that can play. And, no, I saw some of my old offensive linemen with 197 pounds, 205. Look at them now. But I tell you, I had some fighters, though. They were small.
I believe it.
They'd fight you.
I believe it.
Well, your years here as an athletic director so successful as well, over 20 national championships with a lot of different teams on the men's and women's side. Good defensive play right there for Murray State. They are announcing themselves here in the first quarter. A loss of 3 there. But here's that 1980 championship team. The O-line averaged 6'2", 245, and now they're a sight taller and a little bit wider.
Yeah, well, those guys were bigger than the ones when I first started. I mean, that was pretty big size. Yeah, that's great moment.
What do you remember about that Sugar Bowl?
I saw so many of those players last night. Herschel, Terry Hogue, Scott Warner, all have been in the Hall of Fame. So there's some great players.
You're in the Hall of Fame as well, the College Football Hall of Fame. As Fromm strikes across the middle for a first down and into Murray State territory. But what do you love about that 80 championship team in particular and that Sugar Bowl win over Notre Dame as they get ready to come to town here in a few weeks?
Yeah, that's going to be something. That team won them all somehow, some way. You could make an argument that some of the other teams might have been, oh, what a hit.
And a turnover, a takeaway for the Murray State defense.
Yeah. Look at him, he's still going. I got to get out of here. This is getting too much excited. But I like to see a team that come in and get challenged by this big Georgia team and play like they're playing.
They are giving it their all right now. And the takeaway here, a big hit. I believe it was Cameron Petty that knocked it loose right there from Eli Wolf.
It's hard sometimes. You get stood up by a couple defenders. You can't go right down. And all of a sudden you turn around, you got 300 pounds coming down on you. And look at that ball pop out. I'll tell you, some early mishaps and some big plays now. Murray State trying to take advantage.
Guys, that was a great job by the defensive line, turning and running as soon as that ball is caught. You would love to see those defensive linemen flying downfield. They can make big plays like that.
Here they come with some pressure off the edge and a slant route, the connection into Georgia territory down to the 45. So, Coach, we congratulate you on everything that you have meant to the University of Georgia and for you and your family on a wonderful day today. It's now Dooley Field at Sanford Stadium.
Thank you.
Congratulations,
Thank you very
Coach.
much.
You got it. Absolutely.
Pleasure.
All right, good.
I know you want to get back with your Georgia family and get things back on track for the Dogs.
Yeah, that's what it needs to do. That's right.
Vince Dooley with us here in the booth. And folks in Athens getting a bit antsy. A 7-7 game and Murray State driving now in Georgia territory.
One thing I'm seeing as we're talking to Coach Dooley, the physicality, the tempo is equal to what Georgia's doing. I think this is a subtle surprise early on as we watch Murray State make some big plays in this game early.
The thing about Murray State's offense from a run standpoint, AB, zone run. So you can have an undersized offensive line if you're running zone because you just got to get enough in the way of some of those big guys and allow a crease for that running back.
That's right. And they got quick running backs that are very receiver-like. So they really do hit those holes. Let's see if the defense can make a stop here on third down.
False start coming on the Racers.
False start, offense, number 88, 5-yard penalty, third down.
Normani Hayes, the wideout that was right in front of the official on the far sideline, so now 3rd and 10.
Can't happen as a wide receiver. You're out there with this tempo offense. You're going off ball movement, just inexcusable. These are the situations that Murray State can't be in against this defense.
The 4-man pressure, and they get to the quarterback. Down goes Preston Rice. Swarmed up front and running away, the true freshman Nolan Smith, and it's 4th down.
True freshman Nolan Smith coming off the edge here. Look at this bull rush. Wow, just trucks the tackle. It's the #1 rated recruit prospect from this year. I'll tell you, he is a stud. That's a heck of a pass rush on the edge.
AB, that was a bull rush by a 235-pound man. Probably by the time he leaves here, he'll probably be 255. That was great.
Loss of 5 on the play. A lot of excitement about not only Nolan Smith, but Nakobe Dean, another true freshman. And that linebacking core, Simmons will take it from his own 6. And down at the 22-yard line. And a return of 16. Tied at 7 here in the first quarter in Athens. Now an update from the studio and Kevin.
Yeah, and Beth, the AT&T best performance after a very un-Trevor Lawrence-like opener. The Clemson quarterback is bouncing back. 30 yards here to Justin Ross. Clemson winners of 16 straight games, longest active streak in the FBS, and over on ABC, locked up in a good one as we thought, 7-3 lead on Texas A&M.
Thank you, Kevin. That's one of the big ones today. Of course, still to come later on ABC tonight, 7:30 primetime, LSU and Texas. And that's what Clemson has done with those 16 straight wins, including, of course, the national championship last year over Alabama.
And that was a great game last year. I believe it was 29-27 or 28-26, and it was a contested game. I think that was not a game that Trevor Lawrence played much of. He was not the key factor in that matchup at Texas A&M. Now, he's the guy. A little slow start last week, trying to pick it up here this week at the quarterback position.
Alabama, by the way, 21-0 over New Mexico State right now down in Tuscaloosa. Already some excitement today with Army putting a scare into Michigan. The Wolverines had to win in double overtime earlier. And Ohio State, another impressive performance. They rocked Cincinnati. Justin Fields, the former Georgia quarterback here, a couple of touchdowns, both rushing and passing.
Got to think offensively, they're going to try to impose their will up front, get this running game spark, see if they can break a big one here and open this game up a little bit.
Swift, who rushed for 149 yards against Vanderbilt. The nice bounce to the outside. And there is indeed that big play. Run out around the 35-yard line of Murray State. Then a 40-yard run.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the one thing I've impressed about is the perimeter blocking on the outside. Watch the receiver right here. That's a true freshman. If you want to play on this football field, you better block as a receiver. That's a true freshman player, one of the best young prospects in the country, George Pickens.
And now another fresh tailback, Zamir Zeus White, who made his debut last week and averaged 10 yards per carry, and another jolt right there up the middle for 10 and a first down.
Well, think about Nick Chubb when you see this guy, right? Thick legs, he's very strong, downhill guy, and it's great to see him back from injury to his ACL and his freshman year last year and also his senior year of high school. So it's like he's got that bounce back early on.
Timeout. Murray State. Their second of the first half. 30-second timeout.
That's the second of this half for Murray State. Georgia tied up, but on the move. Carry there for Zamir White. Let a flag down.
Holding, offense number 55. 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. First down.
That's Trey Hill, the sophomore out of Warner Robins, Georgia. It's his first year as a starter up front in the middle, replacing Lamont Gilliard off to the NFL.
And now we see Brian Herring coming in at running back. Guys, what a luxury Georgia has to be able to rotate 4 running backs. SEC defenses, beware, late in games, third, fourth quarter, they're bringing in a fresh body. That's punishing on our defense.
Herring will get it. Nice blocks on the edge. Robertson and Pickens. And he'll pick up 6 or 7. And what could be a challenge, right? You got to manage 4 guys in that running back room. They all want the ball, but they all play unselfish and do what's best for the team.
Yeah, I'll tell you, and talk about unselfish. Look at the receivers, the tight ends on the edge. I mean, nobody's touching these backs. Talk about the offensive linemen getting on bodies. If you start blocking DBs and safeties and linebackers with smaller bodies, this running game may be unstoppable.
Arian again on the hesitation. Dives down to about the 14-yard line, and it's a first down Georgia and a gain of 7.
Some of the big things, too, when you run the ball effectively downhill, it really makes it easy to suck linebackers down and DBs for the big play-action pass that we'll probably see later in this game.
And that'll take care of the first quarter of play. Georgia and Murray State even at 7. And the Dogs into the red zone here at the newly christened Dooley Field at Sanford Stadium in Athens. You're watching the SEC on ESPN. Athens, Georgia, and a 7-7 game. And Georgia on the move. They've got it 1st and 10 at the Racers' 15-yard line. They've gotten their fair share of chunk plays. How about 7 of 18 already of over 10 yards? Jake Fromm is 5 of 6 in the air, and on the ground the Dogs are over 100 yards rushing. And they'll get some more here. Cook pushes his way down to the 2, and it's 1st and goal Dogs.
Excellent block on the edge by their tight end, Werner, number 89, Charlie Warner. He's a senior. I'll tell you, he does a lot of the dirty work for this team. And when you're driving guys 10 yards down the field, Beth, it's really nice to have as a running back going out the edge.
I'll go with Harrion in the backfield here. Cager and Pickens to the left side with 2 tight ends set. Harrion, touchdown. He's gone over 1,000 yards in his career now rushing at Georgia, and he's got 6 right there for the Dogs.
Yeah, let's watch the tight end, 89 Werner. Bam, cuts off the edge. Just that collision there gives Arian an opportunity to make a cut inside and out, and it's very easy for him, the senior. He's got a lot of carries over his career. He's seen a lot of great backs making a big play.
With the extra point. 7 plays, 78 yards in 2.5 minutes. And Georgia back on top as Harrion takes it home. Big guys up front for Georgia, leading the way for Brian Harrion, the senior from Douglasville, Georgia. Finishing off that drive with a 2-yard touchdown run and a 14-7 Georgia lead. DeQuan Dallas, Quinaz Turner, the deep men. Rodrigo Blankenship set to boot it away. Today's college football rankings are brought to you by Northwestern Mutual. And there's a look at your top 10. Clemson up right now 10-3. Alabama, the route is on against New Mexico State. And the big one coming up later on, LSU and Texas.
I think Ohio State clearly has a good team. I think a lot of people thought versus Cincinnati that was going to be a game. They blow them out of the water. I'm not quite sure about Michigan. That's a close game against Army. I saw Army last week play Rice. I wanted to see what was going on because they only beat them by a touchdown, and they had their problems with them at home. So I'm not quite sure Michigan is a top 10 team right now.
Yeah, they got a bye, and then they are at Wisconsin in a couple of weeks. And a shaky start for the Wolverines. 1 yards rushing in that first quarter for Murray State. Their big strike was the 60-yard touchdown pass. Preston Rice to Daquan Green. They haven't gotten much going on the ground yet. Good pursuit. Crowder, the first guy there. The ball pops out. Scooped up by J.R. Reed. And into the end zone for Georgia.
Crowder all around the field. In every game I see him, he's just corrals him. And then the big hit right there by number 23 for this defense, Mark Webb, doing a nice job. And of course, Mr. Playmaker himself, J.R. Reed, the senior, picking that one up and scoring a touchdown.
On the Thorpe watch list. Could make it 2 in a row for Georgia after DeAndre Baker won it last year. The defense gets on the board.
Well, I'll tell you what, this Georgia defense seems to be waking up a little bit. A gang tackle, all the red jerseys around white jerseys, and there's their man, Mr. All-American J.R. Reed with the big play.
Brought to you by Skittles. Taste the rainbow.
Well, the only one of its kind, the double-barreled cannon, meant to fire 2 cannonballs connected by a chain. Back in the Civil War era, it's outside City Hall here in Athens. And a couple of touchdowns in a 33-second span for Georgia. They've scored twice on the ground, and the defense getting into the act too. J.R. Reed scooping up after the forced fumble by Mark Webb. And now they're starting to feel it here in Athens. Terrific on the kick coverage for the special teams. Well, the 2 hottest hardcourt players are squaring off in the men's final at the U.S. Open tomorrow. Rafa Nadal, Daniil Medvedev, as Rafa goes for his 4th U.S. Open championship. Of course, the women's final this afternoon with Serena Williams going for her 24th Grand Slam title, which would tie Margaret Court for the most ever. So how does Murray State respond after the giveaway and the touchdown for Georgia? Back shoulder throw incomplete. Well, one of the things they love to talk about here in this Georgia defense this year, Anthony, is the havoc rate. Sacks, pressures, takeaways, TFLs, and in the case of J.R. Reed, the scoop and score.
Yeah, outside of the touchdown, the hard slant that Murray State scored on, this defense has been flawless, and I think that was a little bit of a wake-up call for them, Bet.
Yeah, they gave up the 60-yard touchdown pass play. That's Jacob Bell and Eric Stokes on the coverage, the sophomore out of Covington, Georgia, who has really come on strong. Started at the end of last season and has carried it over into this year. And a 3rd down here for the Racers. Receiver screen. Dogs able to snuff it out, and then the good second effort. And a 1st down, Murray State and Sylvan Turner.
I don't know how he got out of that play there. It's amazing. Devontae Watt, the nose for them. Tracked him down to 300 pounds, but was able to slip through the cracks and get a 1st down. That's big for Murray State. You're talking about momentum really shifting in this game. Just to get a 1st down is a good thing for Murray State.
Out of the gun from their own 20. Castile maybe got a yard That was Michael Barnett, the grad student from Dorchester, South Carolina, on the stop.
Guys, we had a freshman linebacker for Georgia's entered the game here. That's N'Kobe Dean, one of the top recruits in the country. A lot of folks talking about him, and he's looking kind of like Roquan Smith did when he started to come in. An athletic linebacker, was hurt last week, but running around now and making some plays.
He's in there right behind Nolan Smith, the other freshman. Pressure coming. And they got him. Another sack for this Georgia defense. It's Walter Grant. And a studio update now with Kevin Connors.
Beth, we have breaking news from the NFL. Antonio Brown is a New England Patriot. He signed a one-year deal, $15 million, with a $9 million signing bonus. This according to Adam Schefter. This on the day Brown was released by the Oakland Raiders after asking for his release on social media. Antonio Brown will now be catching passes from Tom Brady in New England. He is officially a New England Patriot. Beth?
Thank you, Kevin. What a wild saga and story this preseason.
Where does dysfunction go to get right? Go see Coach Belichick and turn the tail. And you know what? He ain't going to lose a dime if he lives up to the expectations that he was supposed to in Oakland. I can promise you this, John Gruden, watch his facial expressions on Monday Night Football, Ben, because I promise you, he is not a happy camper right now.
Please reset the game.
I still think that was a good move for the Raiders. There's no way that relationship in that locker room could have worked with him. They get a fresh start. Antonio Brown gets a fresh start, and we'll see if it works.
3rd and 15 here for Murray State. Good push by the Georgia D. Pressure is on. And are they ruling that a fumble or an incomplete pass? The pressure was coming from Adam Anderson, and the officials will get together to discuss.
There was no initial signal from the referee.
And now a flag.
Intentional grounding, offense number 5. Foul is a loss of down at the spot of the foul. 4th down.
And the spot of the foul is back inside the 1-yard line.
Yeah, Anderson's coming off the bottom of your screen. Long, 6'5", but only 225 pounds. But good job getting pushed. Quarterback gets flushed. Question is he out of the pocket there? Looks like he's still inside, and that's why they called it.
He's going to put Steve Dawson in a bit of a pickle. He'll have to punt this out of the back of his own end zone. A loss of 14 on the play.
And that's a small problem for Murray State. They try to do a lot of quick hitters, Beth. And if it's not there immediately, what's the answer? Right now, you've seen the quarterback, Preston Rice, really have a plan for that secondary receiver.
Lewis Seen is back at midfield for Georgia. Got whistles and a timeout called by Georgia.
Timeout. Georgia, their second for the first half.
Kirby not happy.
Guys, he just gave the special teams coach the death stare right there.
We'll take the break with them. 21-7, Georgia on top. Dooley Field at Sanford Stadium, newly named today for Vince Dooley. And Georgia with a 21-7 lead over Murray State. And a tough spot right here for the Racers. Steve Dawson out of the back of his own end zone. Dominic Blaylock is the deep man now at the 45-yard line. Australian gets the boot away. Blaylock back into his own territory, and now a running start for Dominic, and taken down at the 40-yard line. A 51-yard punt, a good one for Murray State. and a return of 11. Well, this season, Taco Bell is celebrating student sections and passionate fans like these by awarding the Live Más Student Section of the Year. The Georgia Bulldogs student section is already on the national watch list, so go to ESPN.com/Taco Bell to see how your school can compete or get the committee's attention by using hashtag Live Más Student Section Contest. The body paint always a plus in the committee's eyes. And now good field position here for Georgia. They've got a short one at the Murray State 41. A couple of rushing touchdowns. The defense has scored today. And it's Swift in the backfield with Jake Fromm. Junior is already on Kuiper's big board. Potential high draft pick if he were to leave after his junior season. The completion to Eli Wolf, but we've got a flag down.
Illegal formation, offense, more than 4 players in the backfield, 5-yard penalty, first down.
I mean, there's an awful lot for the pro scouts to like about Jake Fromm.
And guys, I can't tell you how refreshing it is. Every week I stand down there, I watch these quarterbacks, and most of them look to the sideline to the coach to have them tell them what play to check to, where to go with the football. Jake Fromm, so refreshing to see. He is in command of this offense. They send in a package of plays to him, and from there, it is his discretion which play they go with.
Kirby Smart says it's a big advantage that he doesn't have to look to the sideline, so neither can the defense. And is that held on to by George Pickens, the one-handed grab for the true freshman out of Hoover, Alabama.
James Cooley, the offensive coordinator, said, listen, he's a true freshman, but he's the purest receiver that we have on this team. And you see the control when he catches that ball, just kind of plucking it out of the air. He's going to be a special player for this Georgia team.
Grabbed it with 2, reached with 1. The 6th rated wide receiver on ESPN, Swift. And a short gain there. How about another studio update with Kevin?
All right, Beth and Dogs fans, don't kill the messenger here. This is Tua. Henry Ruggs the third touchdown pass of the day for Tua, who also just ran one in. Ruggs has a 75-yard touchdown run, 28-0 Alabama, Beth, on the SEC network.
Yeah, big day for the Tide against New Mexico State down in Tuscaloosa. Favorites again in the SEC West. Rifled right down the middle, inside the 15-yard line and all the way down inside the 10 for Eli Wolf.
Great protection up front. And when you get that protection, it gives Fromm the ability to really survey the land and the field. And he's got his tight end on a deep dig route on the inside, wide open. And you see Eli Wolf go to work with the yak after the play, yards after the catch.
People say he doesn't have a strong arm, Anthony. That was a rope. I'm standing down here. That ball just flew out of his hand. That was a nice job.
Well, there's a sense of timing, too. The ball gets out of his hands when it's supposed to. And it's always on point. It's one of the things that shows up on film when you're watching it.
Under center here, Swift with a big hole. Touchdown, Georgia. And DeAndre's second of the day. Terrific job blocking on the edge to open up the hole. That was Pickens and John Fitzpatrick, the tight end. And DeAndre now 6 carries, 67 yards, and touchdown runs of 3 and 10, and a 28-7 Georgia lead.
Yeah, it's a misdirection to the right with one tight end. Fitzpatrick blocks out. You see Pickens, who's making himself known in this football game, catching and blocking, and no one's there to touch Swift.
DeAndre out of Philadelphia. And there's his dad looking on, Darren.
Looks like he put a couple weights up in his day. You know, Swift went to St. Joe's Prep, which was one of my rival high schools. I wouldn't have called it a rival when I was playing at Monsignor Bonner. But once I graduated, they started to pull some players in from Jersey, and that's when Prep started to turn the tables. And I'll tell you, man, he's a special back. The thing I like about Swift is he can do it all, right? He can catch the ball like a receiver. He's got great vision, great moves. Look, and he's sharing a lot of reps with the other guys that are coming in at the running back position, but he makes the most of his opportunities with splash plays.
1,000-yard rusher last year along with Elijah Holyfield, and prior to that, of course, you had the Michelle and Chubb combo at Georgia. Had a chance to hear from Herschel Walker pre-game with Rocky. Terrific group of running backs over the years here for the Dogs. And another touchback here for Murray State will kick your week off. It's week 1 of NFL Sunday with ESPN at 10 Eastern. The Sunday NFL Countdown crew will have all the latest. You could always watch the show live on your ESPN app as well. With Teddy and Rex and Matt and Randy, Morton Shefty, Lewis Riddick, and Samantha Ponder, and of course all the latest on Antonio Brown signing with the New England Patriots this afternoon.
See how that goes, man. He's had a couple troubled receivers in his past.
Jared McCray gets tripped up. And Murray State, nothing doing on the ground. Tyler Clark, the latest guy with the tackle there, minus 23 rushing.
It's the movement skills of these defensive linemen. I mean, they shed blocks, they get off, and they make tackles. That's a heck of a move. The fact that he went underneath and came back out to make that play.
Look at the discrepancy on the ground here in the first half, favoring Georgia. Rice hands it off. It's Jared McCray who had the fumble return for a touchdown earlier. Quay Walker with the tackle. Another one of this very deep group of linebackers, and it's 3rd down and 13.
These are the issues when you go fast on offense. If you don't make any plays on 1st and 2nd down, and you're in 3rd and long, you're really out of opportunities or really things you could call here. They've gotten some pressure defensively for Georgia. Let's see if they can get to Preston Rice here.
Dogs bring 4. Rice dumps it off across the middle and out to the 30-yard line, but that will be short of the marker. Rodney Castile gets 8 of them back.
2 great bull rushes right there. Tyler Clark, the defensive end, and Nolan Smith, the outside linebacker. Great leverage, and you see the power in the legs driving those linemen back.
Yeah, Clark just steamrolled the offensive lineman, like put him on his back, and right now he's getting in flow. He likes that matchup. You see him waving. He's like, he ain't got on me, nothing on me. He's a disruptor up front. That's what makes some plays for this Georgia defense.
There's Steve Dawson punting from his own 15. It's Tyler Simmons now back deep for Georgia. He will let that go towards the sideline and out around the 20 for the Dogs. Under 7 to go and a 28-7 Georgia lead.
It's all about the tailbacks today. Swift making some noise in the backfield.
It's a party atmosphere in Athens today. The newly named Dooley Field at Sanford Stadium for their longtime head coach and athletic director, Vince Dooley. And one of the guys that he coached on that 80 championship team, Scott Werner, and that win over Notre Dame in the Sugar Bowl, and now Scott's nephew, Charlie, one of the tight ends. Been a terrific job blocking on the edge so far today. They've scored a few times on the ground.
One of their captains as well, just does the dirty work. The blue-collar player of this Georgia team always has a significant play in the game.
Looking to go deep downfield, and the diving, lunging grab by George Pickens.
his arm pump. Doesn't extend to the last second and tracks that ball right to his body. That's a big-time catch right there by Pickens.
Fromm talked about wanting to be more accurate downfield. He's doing it. After the 43-yard strike, he hooks up here for another first down to Wolf, down to the 15.
Watch this, sells it all the way over. Just trusts his receiver to run by the defender. And look how he just tracks that head on hands. Unbelievable. It's a clinic.
Back to the air again. Both feet down. Touchdown, George Pickens. And what a quick strike for Jake Fromm and the Dogs.
Ben, I got to say this about Pickens. Normally, in the realm of receivers, when they make a layout catch, what do? They tap out. They need a break. This guy comes right back, a little sluggo route to the outside. Toe taps it in. Phenomenal. Unbelievable play.
In a row completed by Jake Fromm. The last three, a 43-yarder, a 22-yarder, a 15-yarder, and the first career TD for Pickens.
Little coming out party here. Fromm obviously trying to get the ball to his guy. He only needs 1 foot. He got 2 in. This kid is prepping. He may not be here long. Just an excellent job surveying the field by Fromm. Talked about the arm strength. That's a dart to the outside. And the concentration to pluck the football and get your foot down, Rocky, is phenomenal.
Guys, I love the tempo of that play. You get a big pass play from, gets the offense back up the line, defense is on its heels. Another big play, gets them back up to the line of scrimmage, defense on his heels again, throw the touchdown pass. Amazing. My only thing I was surprised about is George Pickens didn't catch that thing one-handed. Guys, before the game, multiple one-handed catches down here I was watching.
Finally, a young man comes in and uses 2 hands. All these shots and videos we see on YouTube and Snapchat or whatever it is with these one-handed barrage of catches, this kid goes out and uses both. I love it.
It's all about the gram, AP. That's what it's about. You don't get it on the gram with 2-handed catches now.
That's now a touchdown pass in 30 of 31 career games for Fromm. Let's go back and revisit the drive there in that sequence of catches.
It was the Pickens show here on 2 of them. Just speed down the field. Look at the tracking of the football to the hands. How he pulls it in. Eli Wolf has done a nice job at the tight end position. Another dig route, wide open, catching it in traffic. And then, folks, just watch this laser shot right to the corner. Accuracy. Pickens with the big catch. He does have pure form and clearly some great ball skills, like offensive coordinator James Cooley told us in the meetings.
Just a freshman, 6'3", 190, and a big drive there. Murray State finding themselves down 35-7. There's a connection with Daquan Green, who has the touchdown catch from earlier. A 60-yarder. That's all Murray State's been able to muster. 94 total yards of offense. They're in the negative rushing. 296 for Georgia here in the first half. Another good push by those guys up front.
Yeah, Monty Rice, really nice job. He sees the football, Rocky, and he strikes a hole. Unbelievable job by him.
Great linebacker, AB. His issue has been staying healthy. Last year, he missed the final 4 games of the year. This offseason, he learned the value of preventative maintenance, not waiting till you get hurt to get treatment, but preventative-wise, going and getting the massages, getting the cold tub, all those sort of things really helping him this year.
He's become one of their leaders, and of course it has helped that he was able to study under Roquan Smith when he was younger. And now it's 3rd and 2. And we've got a whistle. Preston Rice upset because he thought that was going to be a big hitter.
Yeah, Coach Stewart, both coaches on the field.
Ball start, offense. All 11 players did not get set. 5-yard penalty, third down.
You know, Murray State's going fast, and when they line up, number 88, Hayes, went the wrong way, had to come all the way back. He didn't get set at the line of scrimmage, and then they set the motion in the backfield. Again, sometimes you trick yourself with all this movement and quickness at the line of scrimmage.
He'll try again here on 3rd and 7 now. Rice stepping up into the pocket and getting hit hard at the 30-yard line. A swarm of Georgia defenders led by Tyler Clark.
Starting to show up. It's hard, Rocky, for an interior defensive lineman to do all these things up front, but you just watch him making some moves here in the middle.
I mean, Tyler Clark right now is everywhere. And keep in mind, folks, he's a 300-pound man, and he is in the backfield. He's turning around and making tackles on the wide receivers. Tremendous effort plays by 52.
And he was double-teamed on that play.
And that was another big pop from Mark Webb at the tail end of the play as you check out the yardage discrepancy here in the first half. Simmons had some problems with it. Now he's got some room to run. Simmons gets to the outside across midfield and all the way down to the Murray State 35, a return of 43 yards. And taken down by the punter, Steve Dawson.
Guys, that was very impressive because a few minutes ago, Tyler Simmons was in the locker room. He had a right ankle injury. Didn't look like he was going to come back. Shortly, a few minutes ago, saw him come back on the field. Then he's back there deep, catching the punt, and then a nice return.
Well, he's the senior leader of this wide receiver room. A lot of new faces this year with 3 of their guys heading off to the NFL. Kearis Jackson, the hand injury last week. We've already seen what George Pickens can do, the freshman who's been shining here in the first half. And this is a new quarterback, Stetson Bennett, into the ball game for Georgia. And he'll throw on first down, and he's got a completion to his tight end down inside the 15-yard line to John Fitzpatrick.
I'm glad that James Cooley, the OC, is giving a dog a bone because these tight ends been blocking their butts off really all training camp, and last week against Vanderbilt, they're doing it again, and he's just finding the security blankets. A good job with his eyes, staying calm in the pocket. Stetson Bennett here, he's only got a little bit of Baker Mayfield in him from what I've been heard. That
Coach said maybe a little too much.
We'll see how that comes out in this game.
22 yards on that connection. We'll let him throw again here. Almost intercepted.
That looked like a little Baker Mayfield, maybe his sophomore year there.
Don Parker should have had the pick there.
Yeah, got to be careful. You know, when you're rolling out and nothing's there, you never want to go against the grain. It looks like the tight end sliding open, but there is a defender behind tracking him. You got to pull that down if you're a defensive back. Don Parker right on the spot. He made some hay there with an interception.
Zamir White now the offset back. And the give is to Zeus. Down to the 5-yard line behind big Jamari Salyer.
No wasted motion by these backs, right? When that hole is there, and they're usually there with these offensive linemen, they hit it and they get downhill. And then guys like number 3, White, he'll inflict pain on the defense with his physicality and his body. So you get kind of a double whammy. You get the big uglies up here pounding away on the defensive line, and then when the linebackers come up or the safeties, they take the hit by the running back. So just a lot of physicality with this Georgia offense.
2 carries, 18 yards for Zamir. He'll give it a go again. And he's in. Barreling into the end zone. Touchdown, Georgia.
Yeah, right guard, really everybody gets pushed about 2 yards, and just got to make a play by a back, get your head down. But look at the push. You see Werner in the outside finishing his play. right down the gut, the center, Hill, Kinley, right guard, Mays, all those guys. Just get behind him, and the running back finds a hole.
First touchdown today for George Pickens, and now the first touchdown for the young Zamir White, and a 35-point second quarter for Georgia. Let's check in with the studio.
And Beth, coming up on the Army National Guard halftime report, we'll have much more on Antonio Brown to the New England Patriots. The breaking news on the day he was released by the Oakland Raiders. We'll also check in on #1 defending national champion Clemson holding serve against Texas A&M. And speaking of holding serve, Serena Williams in search of her 24th career Grand Slam championship. We'll check in on things in Flushing Meadows when you join us for the Army National Guard halftime report.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Speaking of Army, they put a big scare into Michigan today. Took the Wolverines into double overtime before succumbing. And elsewhere, Ohio State rolling. Alabama up big. Wisconsin rolling. That Clemson-Texas A&M game, 17-3 right now. And still to come, 7:30 tonight on ABC, LSU at Texas. Rounds through the end zone. Well, this season, for every field goal and extra point made by participating universities, All-State will make a contribution to the university's General Scholarship Fund. Thank you, All-State. The new sign on the facade there, Dooley Field for Vince Dooley, and the newly christened Dooley Field at Sanford Stadium. Built back in the 20s, when it was just the lower bowl on both sides, and while Vince was here, they added the upper deck, the suites, the west end zone, just recently filling in the east end zone. And for Georgia fans, a capacity of 42,000 to over 90,000 today. And so much of that done while Vince Dooley was here as the head coach and the athletic director. National championship team back in 1980, winning the Sugar Bowl against Notre Dame to complete the undefeated season. And I'm sure for a lot of folks, you still have Arkansas State next week, but thoughts have already started developing about the Fighting Irish coming to town for a prime-time game here in a couple of weeks. And one of the most highly anticipated non-conference matchups of the year. Third and 3 for Murray State out of the Ohio Valley Conference. Rice will run for it, and he'll get it. He's not going to take a knee. He's not going down with the slide. And it rumbles all the way down inside the 35-yard line of Georgia.
Coach Mitch Stewart talked about his quarterback plays the game like a middle linebacker, and clearly he's looking for contact here. Watch how he's able to escape. They kind of contain him on the inside, and he's just looking to put his shoulder into somebody. And I'll tell you now, Eric Stokes, number 27, wasn't really prepared for him to do that. And I'm sure he's pretty disappointed the way his team started this game out. He's looking to take some anger out on somebody.
And I think they were anticipating the slide there, right? And it never happened.
I will caution him. I've just seen this. Next time that happens, Rocky, you better make sure you slide. Don't go out there trying to do it twice in a row.
Because now the defense is not going to give him the benefit of the doubt. They're going to go after him, no question.
Second down here for the Racers, trying to beat the clock before the half. Running out of time, and Nolan Smith able to wrap him up. That's the 5th sack of the half for this Georgia defense.
Yeah, excellent job just staying. Great hustle. I mean, this kid's all over the field. Watch this now. Nolan Smith is going to start on the inside, and he's going to roll and come back around. And he's just, it's all about effort, right? You want to see guys kind of do their thing, wraps all the way around the guard, and chases them down with speed. This is the future. Now we're talking about the now for Georgia, and we're excited about it. But again, they just keep rolling the train in. Another 5-star, another 4-star.
Guys, we've been talking about Nolan Smith. I watched his high school highlight tape this week, and one of the better high school highlight tapes I've seen, and you mentioned, Anthony, it's the effort. Sometimes those five-star guys, they'll make the great plays, but you don't see the effort plays. That is not Nolan Smith.
Loss of 12 on that play. Well, for Georgia, 10 consecutive top 10 recruiting classes. The one coming in next year will be the third top 5 in a row for Kirby Smart and his crew.
Gotta love Fromm there, Beth. Not in the game, but yet he's still coaching up, talking to the tight ends. He's like, listen, I appreciate your blocking. I threw you guys a couple balls, all right? Got him to calm down. I think his roommate is Werner as well, so he may have put some stuff in his ear. I always like to roommate Rocky with the quarterback in the league, you know, just to get in their ear a little bit.
It's always smart to room with the quarterback. It's always a good move.
On third down, and the pass is caught by Green at the 28-yard line. Took the official a moment to get in there and spot it. It is short of the marker, though, so fourth down coming up. And they will give Gabriel Vincente a crack at it here. And the field goal attempt from 45 yards. They got to hustle. They do not have a timeout left to call here. Under 5 seconds to go. It's off in time, and it is no good. As the clock expires to end the first half. 35 unanswered points for the Bulldogs and a 42-7 halftime lead here in Athens. Big second quarter for Georgia, 35-0 run at a 42-7 lead now over Murray State as we get set to start this third quarter. 4 rushing touchdowns in that first half from 3 different guys, DeAndre Swift, Brian Harrion, and Zamir White. And the first career scores for White and George Pickens, who had a touchdown catch from Jake Fromm. As we welcome you back here to the newly christened Dooley Field at Sanford Stadium. Beth Mowens along with Anthony Becht. We got Rocky Boyman with us as well. As we anticipated, big advantage for the guys up front, and the ground game was churning it out today.
They did. They controlled the line of scrimmage. You know, all that weight, all that pressure up front has really made the run game easy against Murray State, who, let's be honest, is undersized up front. I'll tell you what, the one guy that stood out to me for Georgia is true freshman George Pickens, right? This guy went on the sidelines and made some great catches. He seemed to have a really nice connection with Fromm. That could be something that could take him over the top as this season goes on.
They hooked up for a 15-yard touchdown in that second quarter. The scoring for Murray State, it was the Preston Rice to Daquan Green 60-yard touchdown strike. And, they have struggled to get anything going on the ground, so they'll head back to the air. Push close to the 40-yard line. Let's check in with Rocky Boyman.
Guys, I talked to Kirby Smart at halftime. He said early in that first quarter of that game, it looked like Murray State was playing harder than we were. But then after that, really pleased with the effort. Mitch Stewart from Murray State said he just wants to continue to see his team fight. He said, look, we know what we're up against. I just want to continue to see my guys fight for all 4 quarters.
Yeah, Mitch Stewart now in his 5th season, and the former quarterback at Valdosta State, where he was part of the national championship in 2004. They were a 4th place finisher in the OVC last year.
Daquan Green, the receiver for Murray State's been kind of one of their bright spots. Had the big touchdown early on in the games, got over 100 yards receiving. Looks like, you know, listen, their top 2 receivers are injured here for Murray State. Sappington, who they expect to be back next week, and then Honeycutt, their top 2 receivers, they're both down, and he's out for the season. So nice to see Rice at least build a connection for them as they move on to their season later on after this.
Green 5 catches on 5 targets for 101 yards receiving. Justin Connor with the carry there. Murray State in the Ohio Valley. John Morant, last year that terrific run in the NCAA basketball tournament, the upset of Marquette, and then lost to Florida State in the second round, and Morant going number 2 in the draft behind Zion Williamson to the Memphis Grizzlies. Virginia Tech coach Justin Fuente, also a Murray State grad. Keep it on the ground here, and nothing doing once again. With temperatures above 90 degrees, we've seen a lot of different guys. Perhaps the potential, the greatest for Jordan Davis, the freshman All-American a year ago, the sophomore out of Charlotte. Had a tackle for loss and a kick deflection last week against Vandy.
I was a little worried about him going sideline to sideline because of the tempo. Coaches are like, no, we're good. We want him to get that extra work in, some of that extra cardio in game for the season.
3rd and 10. Out into the flat. And again, the Georgia defense able to swarm and make the play. That was to Connor. And it's 4th down. It was Trayvon Walker, the true freshman out of Thomaston, Georgia, leading the way with J.R. Reed.
He's one of the top safeties in the country. Him and Richard LeCount, number 2, maybe the best tandem in college football. But he's a 3-year starter, and he's just, I'll tell you, he is the quarterback of the defense, because we had a conversation with him and Jake Fromm, and he is very intelligent. The son of Jake Reed, of course, the former Vikings receiver. It's impressive.
38 yards on that punt right there, and Georgia will have it when we come back. Welcome back to the SEC on ESPN. Dooley Field at Sanford Stadium. And a big honor today for Vince Dooley. Herschel Walker on hand, the Heisman Trophy winner. Vince had the entire family out on the field for the unveiling. His name now adorns one of the interior facades here at Sanford Stadium. Arrived back in 1963 and coached for 25 years, was a longtime athletic director. And under his watch, Georgia athletic programs hauled in 23 more national championships in a variety of different sports. In particular, Suzanne Yachtlin's Gym Dogs, terrific men's and women's tennis teams under Jeff Wallace and Manny Diaz. And Jack Bowerly with the women's swimming and diving team, all hires by Vince Dooley as the athletic director.
For Vince Dooley, once a coach, always a coach. When you guys had him in the booth, he was living and dying this team between the lines here.
Yeah, some of his team's worst plays were when he was in the booth and he was telling me and Beth, I gotta get out of here.
I gotta get out of here.
Be honest, when you're a fan watching your team and you're sitting in an exact spot, or you've got your hands and you're a certain way, you can't move if things start going well, right? You can't leave that spot regardless of how long you got to stay there.
There's no doubt.
Or you got to get back to it if you did move. Stetson Bennett. Bennett, who came on late in that second quarter.
And if I'm Stetson Bennett here, I'm looking for number 1, George Pickens. When that pass and opportunity comes, because clearly he is the guy that's been the favorite target at the top of the screen here. Number 1, true freshman, getting a lot of work in this football game. And I'll tell you now, this kid is pure as they come, and he's making some plays today.
3 for 68 for Pickens. They'll run with it as flags fly. If Fromm is done for the day, by the way, 10 for 11, 166 yards and a touchdown.
Illegal formation, offense, 5 players in the backfield, 5-yard penalty, second down.
And Jake hit on his last 8 throws before departing. There's the numbers for Jake.
Big time prospect, obviously. He's only a junior, but he'll have some decisions to make. But clearly, you look at his qualities, you think of Peyton Manning, Andrew Luck. The guy is just a all ball, all football. We talked about his schedule this week. He said, listen, I take a little break on Sunday. I watch the game Saturday night. I come back in after he goes to church on Sunday.
There's a pick, and that's going to be a pick 6 for Murray State. Nigel Walton, 34 yards in the opposite direction. He almost had one intercepted down near the goal line in the first half, and this one is taken the other way.
Yeah, you know, he tried to get this out quick, but he's a little late on that. And you see what happens. Walton just kind of sits on it. There wasn't a lot of separation, and he's right on the spot. Great break on the football. You see number 15, Cager, doesn't really come back to the quarterback, just as a hitch route, just standing there. And Stetson Bennett pays the price for being late on that throw.
They'll officially change that now to 35 yards on the return. Extra point from Vicente is good. So both defenses have scored this afternoon. 42-14, Georgia. Welcome back to the SEC on ESPN, and a 42-14 lead, Georgia over Murray State. And a moment ago, Nigel Walton with the pick 6. And this is the work of Jake Fromm in the first half.
Yeah, really nice job just finding George Pickens, a true freshman. Then he starts hitting the inside of the field. He sees everyone, right? He sees the tight ends. He checks off guys. Literally, you're always a number 1 when you're playing with Fromm. And then even when he's not in the game, Beth, he's coaching up Bennett, trying to get him back on where he needs to be so he can come back and be successful. The guy's a total team leader.
Fair catch on the kick for the Bulldogs. Of course, Fromm can come back to Georgia next year, or he could opt to head to the NFL. Mel Kiper on his preseason big board has Tua as the top quarterback, followed by Justin Herbert at Oregon, and then Fromm, a first rounder.
And guys, I always laugh. It's like we always classify players one of two ways. They're either athletically gifted or they're smart players. And it's like the same thing with Fromm. We always talk about how intelligent he is, which is, of course, the case. But I think he also is gifted. Some people say he doesn't have a great arm. I think his arm is fantastic. I think he moves well. So I think he's the complete package, which is why he's high on that draft board.
Rocky, pre-snap analysis is going to be tremendous when you're talking about going to the NFL. He has been doing that since his freshman year. He did it in the championship or in the playoff against Oklahoma his freshman year. I mean, this kid's just on top of it, and he continues to grow. He talked about some of the things you need to work on. He said, I need to understand my offense better, third downs, working my feet in the pocket, getting the arm strength up. He said he really worked on his core in the offseason, and he watched a lot of Drew Brees tape, Beth.
Yeah, you love to hear these guys, they put in the work in the film room, not only, self-scouting, but hey, who do I want to try and take some things from that are doing it right and have been doing it well a long time. And we hear the word polished a lot when we talk about Jake Fromm and the similarities to a Brees. He also watches some Tom Brady film.
The best thing that I heard in the meetings, James Cooley, the offensive coordinator, said, listen, I got to make sure myself and my staff, when we go in,
big run for Zeus White. Down inside the 35-yard line.
When I go into that meeting room to start the week, we better be on top of the offense because this kid's going to go in there and pick us apart. You see White here doing a great job. We talked about his physicality. He's got that downhill running style, again, for 29 yards. But they got to be prepared because he's such a knowledgeable player of the game, Jake Fromm is, and I love it. It keeps your coaches on their toes, right. And it also keeps everybody in line.
There's a new guy in the backfield, Kenny McIntosh, true freshman out of Fort Lauderdale. So the roster gets deeper, and the depth chart does. That's what we got coming up tonight. ABC primetime at 7:30 Eastern. Saturday Night Football presented by Wells Fargo. And Joe Burrow, the Ohio State transfer, playing against his old coach, Tom Herman.
You know, it's interesting when you watch the game. You know, it's the first year they've really put this new offense, this RPO, and, you know, to them it's like this new age stuff when we were interviewing them on game day, but really they're behind the times still. I mean, they don't have a lot of experience in it. I know they did great last week, but how quickly will they be able to continue to go? The one thing, Rocky, that I've noted, they got a lot of athletes on the field that are finally getting the ball in their hands that maybe when they were running 2 receiver sets, not so much.
It's always good to spread the ball around, get a lot of players involved, that makes players excited to get out there and play if they know they have a chance of getting the ball in their hands.
One thing that's true is LSU's defense. I promise you this, and one thing Ellinger does, he uses his legs quite a bit. He takes a lot of unwarranted hits. He's a tough guy, but I'll tell you now, you make a bad move against LSU, they'll make you pay, and them DBs on the outside will not make it easy. He has to find those tight window throws and make completions, or you know it's going to be a tough game for them. I think I like LSU slightly in this one.
Led by Grant Delpit. Could be a top 5 pick as James Cook carries down to the 31. That's what the Burrow and Ellinger did in their wins last week, combining for 9 touchdown passes as we get set for the first top 10 matchup in Austin in over a decade.
That's that's first half numbers, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't see much of them in the second half, but you know, it's kind of cool. You know, Joe Burrow, finally they feel like they have a quarterback that can make some exciting plays with their offense, some explosive plays, and that'll be key if they want to beat Georgia, beat Alabama potentially this season.
Matt Landers on the crossing route. And he's got the first down into the red zone now on a gain of 13.
One of the tallest receivers on the team, Beth, 6'5". You know, he's one of the guys that him and Coach Smart kind of had a little something going. You know, he wasn't really buying into playing special teams, and they kind of get on the bad side of Coach. And then all of a sudden, he kind of understood what Coach was trying to tell him, and now he's getting some time on the field and getting some opportunities now early in the season.
Outstanding pass pro from Zamir White. Had a nice block in the middle. They'll reward him with the carry here as he spins down to the 15. This is what you love to see from your redshirt freshman.
Hey, Rocky, I can't say that you've taken many of those hits, but that linebacker looked a little high when he came through the line of scrimmage.
You don't want to be taking those hits to the chest like that, but, I mean, at the next level, and of course, it's too early to talk about that with him, but, I mean, that's what these coaches want to see. Yes, you want to touch the ball and run the rock, but if you can stick your nose up there and stop a blitzing linebacker, that's a good thing.
Rocky, their depth chart is so deep, next level just means moving up a spot in the lineup. 2nd and 6, under pressure. Bennett into some traffic, incomplete, looking for Landers. And we've got a studio update with Kevin.
Hi, Beth, check this out. Nebraska leading Colorado 17-7. How about Steven Montez to KD Nixon off the flea flicker, 96 yards, longest pass play in school history. What a call by Mel Tucker, but then they give up a 75-yard touchdown in the first play of the next drive, 24-14, Nebraska.
Wow, back and forth with Montez and Martinez. That rivalry has gotten a little chippy the last few years with the return of Scott Frost in Nebraska. Here comes the 8th play of the drive for Georgia. They started back on their own 25-yard line. Bennett to the end zone, got a man open, touchdown, Demetrius Robertson.
Little wheel route concept to the trip side. You'll see him on the inside roll around. It's a nice job, nice throw. First career touchdown pass for the young Stetson Mayfield Bennett.
The 4th. 49-14. Georgia, 5:22 to go in the 3rd. First time for Stetson to the corner of the end zone and another Georgia touchdown.
ESPN celebrating 150 years of college football.
big year around college football, the 150th celebration. A couple of national championship flags flying here in Athens. The Herschel Walker led 1980 team and the Frank Sinkwich led 1942 Bulldogs. A couple of Heisman Trophy winners. Beth Mowens, Anthony Beck, Rocky Boyman with you. 5:22 to go in the third. Georgia looking to get to 2-0 with Arkansas State here next week, and then the third game of their three-game homestand would be Notre Dame. Went up to South Bend and won there a couple of years ago. Let's get another studio update with Kevin Connors.
Yeah, and Beth, we talked about it after the 96-yard flea flicker for a touchdown. How about this? Adrian Martinez, screen pass, Maurice Washington. 75-yard touchdown, the first play of the very next drive. Nice little screen that goes to the house. 24-14 Nebraska on top of Colorado.
Oh, that's a fun one out at Folsom Field. And of course, Mel Tucker, the new head coach for Colorado, was here last year as the Georgia defensive coordinator. He moved on, as did offensive coordinator Jim Chaney back to Tennessee. So two new guys, and James Coley and Dan Lanning here this year for Kirby Smart, who talked to us yesterday about how, you know, it was time for a little more energy and doing things a little bit differently in practice and in their preparation in the offseason to get ready for this year. So they changed some things up to try and stay fresh.
Yeah, they had to, you know, keep the energy up, right? They had to do some one-on-ones. They said even when they install plays now, they try to, you know, show Swift and stop the install and put maybe a play of Alvin Kamara or some big-time running back in the NFL to show the similarities of their skill sets, just to keep them from dozing off when they turn the lights off. You know, back when me and Rocky played, they turned the lights and they put this plastic piece of paper, and the coach would just draw plays on it. And you literally, like, you know, you need smelling salts to keep the guys up, right?
You wrote it down on your notepad.
Notes that don't have. Notes doesn't work anymore. It's repetition. They even do walkthroughs now so many times throughout the day just to keep the players up and going so they can actually feel what they're teaching in the classrooms. And I love it. I mean, you got to stay on top of it. That's the key for good coaches, is really kind of staying on top of the train.
Video-driven world right now. And on third down and short, I think the Racers are going to be able to move the chains here, Rocky.
Well, guys, this is the age of no attention spans, right? I think we don't wait for anything. You know, we don't wait for packages. We don't wait for calls. Nothing. I think that's just bleeded down into the younger crowd. They're just, the attention spans are so low. But look, as a coach, I think you can say, you can complain about it and say it should be different. But I credit this staff and other staffs around the country that say, look, this is the reality. This is what we're dealing with young players. So let's adapt the way we teach our kids.
Preston Rice, meanwhile, 17 for 19 and 17 for 20. Got 161 yards and a touchdown on a day where, as you can imagine, with the size differential and the speed differential, the run game hasn't been able to get going.
I'll be honest with you, Beth and Rock, I make my kid bring a notepad and a pencil every day. So he's going to have some of them old school values. And I'll tell you, I know Jake Fromm's got a notebook, a trapper keeper, a protractor, you know, anything he can do to make it an edge on. It's just unbelievable. But the kid is just dialed in. I'd love to sit down and just watch him for a week, Rocky, go through his plan, because he is one of the most prepared players I've ever been around.
It's such a luxury as a coach to have a guy you want your quarterback to be the first guy in the building, last guy to leave. You don't have to worry about his dedication or how much he's into it. Jake Fromm is 100%. He eats, sleeps, and breathes this game.
If he's got a mystery machine, Scooby-Doo lunchbox, we need to find out about that on social media. Now, that would be old school.
How much? I mean, I know he's on social media.
With the thermos. With the thermos.
He probably sleeps at the facility.
Coming up on 3 minutes to go in the third, and a third down pressure, and the throw downfield, and Rice has the hookup inside the 20-yard line. First down to Jacob Bell.
Jacob Bell was nice job avoiding, keeping his eyes downfield. Bell tracking that ball in. He's one of the rising receivers. They're expecting a lot from him. That's a 50-yard gain. Now, again, going against some of the guys that don't have a lot of playing experience from Georgia, but Kirby's not going to accept any of that from his defensive players in the game.
Out into the flat, Thomas. That was Tyson Campbell coming up for the big hit.
Well, one thing about them is that they're playing hard. I mean, look, both sides, helmets are coming off. Mary State's putting some thump, but that's a corner right there, folks. Taking on that hit against a running back.
Campbell, the sophomore out of Plantation, Florida. Rice. Another nice hit out of the secondary. That was Christopher Smith on Breon Sanchez, the converted basketball player.
6'8". Scored first catch last week, Beth. He's a basketball guy now, 6'8". He went up and tried to dunk it through the goalpost. He got rejected. He got a personal foul. He got the touchdown. Coach was like, man, the last thing you could have done is at least been able to dunk it through the goalpost if you're going to go up and do it. Gets rejected instead.
Third down. Hit as he throws into the end zone off the ricochet, and it falls incomplete. Jermaine Johnson got right up into Preston Rice, and it's fourth down.
Yeah, he just comes right through. They don't pick him up. You know, talked about Jermaine Johnson, the #1 ranked JUCO player in the nation, and just making a big hit on the quarterback. It's all about disruption. That's how you're going to get on the field. So much depth at the running back position, Rocky. Got to find ways to show up on film, and that's definitely one way to do it.
Preston Rice, the quarterback, was not happy. He wanted to go for it there on fourth down. They'll settle for the field goal attempt.
More havoc rate from the Georgia defense from 27 yards. Vicente, and it's good. So he's 1 for 2 this afternoon. 49-17. Georgia in front. 1:18 to go here in the third from Dooley Field at Sanford Stadium. (49-17), Georgia with the lead over Murray State. Final minute plus of this third quarter. It was a 7-7 game into the second quarter, and then a 35-point explosion for Georgia, including a defensive score, busted this open. Well, the 50th season of Monday Night Football kicks off on ESPN, ESPN Deportes, and the ESPN app. It's the annual Week 1 doubleheader. The Saints and the Texans at 7 Eastern, and then out to Oakland for the Raiders and the Broncos. A special edition of Monday Night Countdown kicks off our coverage at 5 Eastern, as the Raiders and Broncos will meet for the 19th time on a Monday night. That's the most played rivalry. So you'll note there is no Antonio Brown amongst the current Raider wide receivers, released today and signed today by the Patriots. So their big free agent pickup, Tyrell Williams, and then also Hunter Renfrow, the rookie 5th-round pick out of Clemson, amongst the guys that will try and pick up the slack, along with Alabama running back Josh Jacobs, another 1st-round pick.
You know, no disrespect to those guys, but, I mean, Gruden can't be sleeping real well right now. I mean, the big thing with Gruden over his career is he never had a quarterback in Tampa. Had a bunch of good receivers. Now it's the flip. He's got a quarterback, but who's he getting the ball to? I mean, talking about a huge drop-off. That just completely changes your offensive plan week in and week out. And I'll tell you, Raider Nation can't be happy about that whole situation.
Well, the good thing is they've been working without Antonio throughout the preseason, so there are opportunities there for other guys.
But they're not Antonio Brown.
They are definitely. This is Antonio Brown back in 2008 when he was at Central Michigan and he played against Georgia. Kenny McIntosh on the carry there.
So, AB, now that they, of course, save all that money they were going to pay Antonio Brown, do you see them trying to make a move, make a trade, and something for a veteran receiver?
You got to. You got to find something out there. And I liked how you called me AB. I may be the real AB right out there. Hey, man, do I need to trademark that? You know, because I think he's been using that quite a bit over the last couple of years.
How's your Insta story game? I think that's the key indicator at this juncture. I think people will be surprised at what some of the other guys can do. We'll see. They'll have an opportunity on Monday night.
We'll bet. We'll side bet. (49-17).
plenty to shake your booty about today in Georgia. That huge second quarter.
He's on point there.
We're just going to leave that right there for the folks at home.
He's on the beat. I like it. He's not tone deaf.
A beautiful day here in Athens. They unveiled Dooley Field at Sanford Stadium in honor of Vince Dooley. Looking for the deep ball. Pickens couldn't hold it. How about a studio update?
Beth, what a wild fourth quarter it's been in Boulder, Colorado, Nebraska. This is Jared Mangum's second touchdown of the day. 3 touchdowns in the span of 2 minutes and 3 seconds. Meantime, Alabama 62-7 lead on New Mexico State. 2 has accounted for 4 touchdowns. Mississippi State 31-15 lead on Southern Miss. Kylan Hill 123 yards rushing and a touchdown for the Dogs.
Thank you, Kevin. Prather Hudson is now in at tailback for Georgia. And the receiver screen here for Dominic Blaylock. True freshman out of Marietta. One of the more versatile athletes on the team.
Second highest recruited receiver in the last decade.
To come to Georgia, yeah.
Blaylock.
Of course, Dad Mookie, NBA fame. Bounce to the outside is Kenny McIntosh. Getting the first few carries of his career.
You're right, Rocky, we talked about, obviously today Murray State, they have Arkansas State, and then the big matchup setting up for Notre Dame. What you see from Notre Dame in the last game that they played?
Well, 2 things. Early on, it looked like the linebackers had never seen a zone read before. I was upset about that. And then number 2, the biggest thing, of course, is Ian Book. Of all the question marks on that team, offensive line, the secondary, they lose some guys. Ian Book was supposed to be the guy that there was no questions, nothing to worry about. And I still don't think that's the case, but he definitely struggled, did not look comfortable in that game last week.
How about up front for Notre Dame? Do you see a little bit of a mismatch problem interiorly with the O-line of Georgia potentially against Notre Dame's defensive line?
Maybe. I mean, Notre Dame's defensive ends, Hayes and Okwara are 2 of the best in the country. They're both 10-sack guys last year, I believe. But the interior defensive tackle position, especially against these big boys going averaging 326 pounds for Georgia, that may be an issue.
Irish are off this week. They'll play New Mexico next week at home and then come down here to face Georgia September 21st in prime time.
Should be rocking here, I'd say.
I would say, yeah.
Notre Dame takes care of business before they get here, and Georgia the same.
Big rushing advantage today for Kirby Smart's squad. 219-14. The rushing numbers today.
Someone asked Kirby Smart, why play an FCS school? What's the reasoning behind it? And he said, listen, number one, you get to help out with a check. I mean, clearly these schools get cut checks, but he says for him, things go to plan like it did today. You get to play a lot of young players, guys that have not gotten those reps. With the new red shirt rule, you get 4 games now, so these guys can come in, play a big role in this football game, and they get to learn a little bit about them in a game situation.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens with these schedules moving forward, and especially if I think we're getting closer to the 8-team playoff down the road here very shortly. We're going to want more points of data. We're going to want more head-to-heads, and I think the fans are going to want more my conference against your conference, and let's see who matches up better on a weekly basis. We did a little research. On the average, the Power 5 schools will play one other Power 5 opponent in their non-conference. So that means they've got 2 or 3 games against Group of 5 or lower level FBS or FCS games on their schedule. And Nick Saban, for one, came out this summer and said, I think we need to start thinking about playing all Power 5 versus Power 5, or maybe give you 1 week early in the season to play against a school in your area or a rival in your state, something like that.
I agree. I think they should play. And if you're going to play group of 5 teams, let's get the ones that traditionally over the last maybe 5-year span, the UCFs, the Boise States, who all did very well in week 1. Let's see, those schools play them. Maybe a round robin, maybe a draw out of a hat. Instead of the schools picking some of those games, maybe, the NCAA should put some type of a drawing system together so that maybe conferences rotate and play each other or things of that nature. But you're right, you got to get those points, you got to get the eyeballs, and it's going to help conferences.
Helps the selection committee,
it
too.
It does, yeah, there's no doubt.
Well, one of the issues, too, guys, is getting fans to come to stadiums.
Exactly.
I mean, attendance in stadiums was down, I think, like a 20-year low. So in a world where there's so many options to garner your entertainment, to garner your eyeballs, you got to put an exciting matchup out there. And I think some would argue, maybe with an FCS school, you don't quite get that as much as you would with matching up 2 SEC schools or something like that.
Some would say attendance is down at our games that we actually call because people want to hear us on the TV screen and listen to the information. And I get it. I completely get it.
Here comes Georgia again. Dominic Blaylock with the touchdown, 25 yards. And another freshman finds the end zone for the first time for the Dogs.
Perimeter blocking is spectacular for Georgia. I mean, everybody has bought in that this has to get done. Receivers, tight ends, even the backups, Beth, are doing those things correct, and it's filtering down to the whole team.
Result of the play is a touchdown. After the play, personal foul, horse collar tackle on the defense. That 15-yard penalty will be assessed on the kickoff.
Blankenship on for the PAT after the 12-play, 75-yard touchdown drive, 5.5 minutes for Georgia. And Blaylock with his 3rd catch, a 25-yarder for a score. Extra point is good.
Extra point is good.
You got to buy in if you want to play. It's a quick screen on the outside, but look at the blocking out in front. You got your tight end, you got your receiver, Jalen Johnson, making some plays. That's what it takes to win football games.
(56-17) Georgia with the lead over Murray State. And you can help people affected by Hurricane Dorian with your donations to the Red Cross. It will support preparation, response, and recovery efforts in the U.S. as well as down in the Bahamas. Go to redcross.org/ESPN, or you can call 1-800-RED-CROSS to donate now.
Number 97, Coach Meeks, kickoff.
Bulldogs with the kickoff into the end zone. Well, Coca-Cola invites you to share a Coke while tuning into this upcoming matchup tonight. It's number 6 LSU at number 9 Texas on the 40 acres tonight at 7:30 Eastern on ABC. And the top 10 matchup tonight, Tigers at Longhorns. It's Mike the Tiger and Bevo. 2 phenomenal fan bases will enjoy the action tonight in Austin. Brendan Bognar is in at quarterback now for Murray State. His first play, incomplete.
Bognar's pass is incomplete.
The highest playoff leverage games, according to the All-State Playoff Predictor. It includes that LSU-Texas game tonight. Notre Dame involved in 3 of them, including the Georgia game here in Week 4. Those are the games that could have the biggest influence on the college football playoff.
Who you got, Rocky, LSU or Texas?
LSU defense. Too tough.
I agree. Ellinger's got to be sharp in this game, and you watch the tight coverage. I mean, they're not afraid to go man-to-man. I know they got Colin Johnson, the big 6'5" wide receiver for Texas, but he's not going to get the space, Beth, that he saw last week playing in that first game. So I'll tell you, we'll see. It's going to be rocking.
It'll be a charged atmosphere.
It's going to be nuts.
They've been getting ready for 2 days from what we've been seeing. Preston Rice, by the way, 20 for 25 with a touchdown and over 200 yards before he departed. Bognar, the completion across the middle, going to be about a yard or two shy.
They're going to go for it here, Ben. I don't know if maybe this deep if I would, but maybe they'll run this clock and decide. They're going to try it.
They were good last year, 6 of 14 times on 4th down. And they will snap it and try and run for it, and they will not get it. Terrific charge up front. Naturi Johnson. And a loss of 3, and the Dogs will take over on downs.
Yeah, guys you normally not see get reps or getting a chance, and Johnson, a redshirt sophomore, 6'4", 320 pounds. It's a big play by him, pushing back the center and winning one-on-one.
Georgia's defense, solid and swift. And the takedown for Johnson, and they'll take it over on downs. You're watching the SEC on ESPN. You asked for it, you got it. During the timeout, he was up on his feet again. Little Macarena for you from Dooley Field at Sanford Stadium. 1st and 10 for the Dogs after the 4th down stop. They are at the Racers' 30-yard line. And now they're a lot closer to the goal line. Shoved out of bounds at the 4 is Kenny McIntosh.
Good speed by McIntosh, bouncing it outside. Comes around, you'll see his left foot right there, step on the white line. Trying to hit that angle precisely. Just gets it on there.
After the 26-yard run, 1st and goal. McIntosh again up the middle. Turns those legs down to the 1.
See some of these young offensive linemen, and for Georgia, you actually can see a significant difference in their size as well. I mean, they're big guys, but they look young, and then you look at, you know, Andrew Thomas and Kinley and Hill and Mays. I mean, there's a big difference. Heck, we didn't get to see Isaiah Wilson, who's in a walking boot for this game, the starting right tackle. He played 95% of the snaps last season, the most than any lineman. And, you know, he's out actually limping and around in this one, not able to play.
Bennett avoids the rush, diving for the pylon. Still waiting for a word from the officials. And apparently he's in for the touchdown.
The boy has
there
some
it
speed.
is.
Yeah. Listen, when you make that decision, just go for it. Looks like he's got that outstretched arm. We can see it here as it breaks the plane, the ball. He's easily inside the pylon there, and takes a little shot at the end, but good speed by him on that rollout.
Touchdown run, touchdown pass, as well as the pick 6 today for Bennett.
There you see it. Ball crosses, hip hits pylon. That means he's inside, and it's a good run by him. Touchdown.
Quick review, as they do on all scoring plays. They check upstairs. All good. PAT good.
Extra point is good.
63-17 Georgia.
Left in the ball game.
Well, how about some Herschel Walker highlights from his days here at Georgia? He was back in town this week. Rocky had a chance to talk to him pregame about his old coach, Vince Dooley. Never gets old watching Herschel run and run over people.
Beth, he's actually made contact with more defenders in this highlight video than any running back for Georgia may have this entire season.
He was down on the field talking with a lot of recruits and younger folks and students here. How about a studio update? Kevin Connors.
Hi, Beth. It's been like Hagler-Hearns in Boulder. Nebraska, Colorado tied at 24. That's Adrian Martinez. First Huskers quarterback with 2 rushing and passing touchdowns in a game since Tommy Armstrong back in 2019. Meantime, Felipe Franks got to cut down on the turnovers through the Florida Gators. They're set to be in action against UT Martin coming up 7:30 Eastern on ESPNU. And Bo Nix led that huge comeback win over Oregon a week ago. They'll take on the Green Wave of Tulane coming up next year on ESPN2. Beth?
Yeah, that should be a good one with Tulane's transfer quarterback, Justin McMillan from LSU. They had a big win over Florida International last week.
How about Colorado? Familiar face for Georgia fans, Mel Tucker. Calling the defense here the last couple of years, goes out there making his moves early in that Nebraska game. Pretty exciting stuff.
Don't forget tonight on ABC at 7:30 Eastern. It's Saturday night primetime presented by Wells Fargo with Joe Burrow and Sam Ehlinger getting ready to tussle in a top 10 matchup. Ball is out, and George is able to recover it.
I think that hit the ground. Ball carriers on the ground on that one, but it's a heck of a Tyndall. Just the speed to chase him down was pretty impressive. Got the ball there,
yep,
pops out on the hits the ground. So it's a lot of defensive speed for Georgia, and I can just imagine their practices, Beth. I mean, imagine the scout team defense, pretty good for Georgia as well, given the looks. You see his knees down,
knee down,
elbow.
yep. That's Michael Hires, the new quarterback, and the 6th sack for the Georgia defense. That one from Channing Tyndall. Nolan Smith had a couple of them today. Hires on the move, out across the 30.
Another 4th down decision here from Murray State, kind of making field position. With a punt.
4th down.
I'll tell you, not much drop off, Beth, from calling plays defensively. Talked about Mel Tucker leaving, and Dan Lanning's done a nice job so far early on the season, getting this defense to go out there and make some big plays, especially getting the quarterback, like you said, 6 sacks on the day.
And how about Dan Lanning? A couple of years ago was a quality control guy in high school, correct?
You're rising up. If you're young, you're in.
We'll take the timeout with him here. 5:31 to go. Let's flash you back to one of the big moments in Vince Dooley's career, leading Herschel Walker and Georgia into the Sugar Bowl at the end of that '80 season, and going undefeated to beat Notre Dame 17-10. Walker with a couple of touchdown runs and carried off the field on the shoulders for Vince Dooley, capping off that '80 championship with the '81 Sugar Bowl and the new Dooley Field here at Sanford Stadium. Blaylock with the fair catch. And Georgia will have it at its own 27-yard line, a 40-yard punt.
Yeah, go Dogs! Sick 'em! Come on now, go Dogs!
So going to 2-0 for Georgia, and here's what's coming up. They'll stay at home next week with Arkansas State, and then September 21, Notre Dame coming to town. And then a road trip to Tennessee, and then 4 more in a row, including the cocktail party with Florida. South Carolina, Kentucky, and Mizzou will all come here. Another challenge November 16th on the road with Auburn. And they'll close out the regular season as they usually do out of the conference with Georgia Tech. Nathan Priestley is now the quarterback for the Dogs.
He's a walk-on, Beth, from LA. Freshman, 6'4". Player down here for
Injured player here for the Racers. Scotty Humpick, the sophomore linebacker from Louisville. Racers will be at Toledo next week before diving into the OVC and conference play. Now keep it on the ground. It's been a terrific day on the ground. Over 260 yards rushing for Georgia, led by the 2 touchdowns for DeAndre Swift.
Number 93, C.J. Barnes.
Zamir White with 72 rushing yards to lead the way. Savon Clark is now in at tailback. Picked up 7 on the last carry. He'll get another one here for the first down out across the 40.
There's the rest of the crew, Beth. White. See Zamir get some carries in this game. He looks good, strong. Again, he's kind of in that Nick Chubb mold as far as his body type. And Swift, kind of the do-it-all. He's got excellent hands, super soft hands for a running back. And McIntosh getting some burn, too. You know, I mean, look at those averages. That, you know, we probably should be showing the offensive linemen's faces because I'll tell you, these guys don't get touched when they go through the line of scrimmage. I mean, literally, when you watch them, it's very rare that they have to deal with any crisis at the line of scrimmage, at least early on in the season.
James Cook, Brian Herrion, the other guys in the mix today. Clark caught in the backfield and taken down. Approaching 3.5 to play. 7-7 game in the first quarter, and then the Georgia Bulldogs turned it on. Big play was the touchdown by their defense and a huge hit from Mark Webb to knock the ball loose. The scoop and score for J.R. Reed. Priestley handled in the backfield. It's going to be 3rd and long. Rushing last season for Georgia, they ran well in their wins, not so well in their losses. An 11-3 season.
There's Andrew Thomas, some would say, the left tackle, the top offensive tackle that could potentially be draft eligible for the NFL draft if he, again, decides to come out.
How about a little trip down memory lane and some of the top running backs in Georgia history? What do you think of this list? Sony Michel coming in at number 5. Garrison Hurst back in the early 90s. Nick Chubb, Michel's running mate. Todd Gurley. And at the top of the list, Herschel Walker.
Some impressive backs there, Beth. I mean,
oh, Frank Sinkwich. I'm just throwing it out there. The older folks. Heisman Trophy winner back on that 42 national championship team. There's Frank. We'll give him a shout out.
What about Terrell Davis?
Yeah. He was good here. Of course, even better with the Broncos.
Pros, yeah.
No doubt.
No Sean Moreno's pictures in the hallway right outside our booth here.
It is. Is this running back you lately? Is that kind of? Do they have a fight for that? And Alabama's obviously put some backs out, but you know, Michelle with the Patriots and Chubb with the Browns. I mean, these guys are solid. I got to think Swift here.
Yep. Well, we've been talking about how good the running backs have it behind that offensive line. How about how good Jake Camarda has it? This will be his 4th punt in 2 weeks. 2 last week at Vandy, 2 today.
He'll be stretched out.
Best job in America.
Seriously. Free education.
Oh, he boomed it high. And the fair catch at the 10. 48 yards on the kick from Jake, but down inside the 20 for him. Well, SportsCenter Saturday night comes your way tonight. After the Stanford USC game, Stan Verrett and Zubin Mehenti will have all the latest from New England and Oakland. Also reacts from Herbie on that LSU-Texas game. And Serena in her quest for history today at the U.S. Open. And a preview of Nadal in the final for the men tomorrow in New York. Clock rolling now, under 2 minutes to go. Quarterback keeper. So for Georgia, the one miscue really on defense that led to the long touchdown in the first half. The one miscue on the pass from Stetson Bennett that resulted in the pick 6. What did you see today, guys, that would lead Kirby Smart to believe, okay, we did play up to our standard and we did improve today?
Well, I think the one thing, Kirby Smart, he'll always find something on the film to coach up. I mean, it's never going to be perfect. And he told us in his meeting, he's like, yeah, they definitely embrace the good things that they see. I mean, clearly they have players that have stuck out today. Pickens, wide receiver, is one of them. McIntosh got some running back reps, like they need a running back to other than the 4 guys that they have. But, Rocky, I think from an offensive standpoint, that's going to be big. But defensively for you, I mean, what did stuck out for you defensively?
The speed of the linebackers, both on-the-ball linebackers and second-level guys, and they're just rotating them in constantly. There had been 10 linebackers that have played today, and every one of them look fast. They get to the ball. They hunt out there. That's what really jumped out to me down here.
Georgia will improve to 2-0. Murray State will fall to 1-1. For Georgia fans to keep an eye on, how long will Kearis Jackson, their wide receiver, be out? How long will Isaiah Wilson, the starting right tackle, be out with their injuries? In 2 weeks' time, will they be ready to go against the Irish?
I can imagine they'll have a lot of one-on-one practices, this week. They did last week. Playing Arkansas State, who again, should be an opponent that they should be able to handle next week. And then, of course, getting themselves physically prepared for that style of play versus Notre Dame and how big that game is, not to look ahead in next week's game as well.
Heave downfield, and it is bobbled and intercepted. Picked off by Georgia. Latavius Brini off the deflection, and he's got it.
It's one of those, look what I found. Ball, clearly quarterback gets hit, trying to get rid of it, just throws it up. Looks like the receiver is going to get it. Doesn't look, it pops right in his hands, deflecting off of number 34, Thomas. And There's those sweet shoulder pads.
The savage pads.
The spikes coming out of them.
Had the Undertaker on game day earlier today in Austin. We get set for LSU and Texas coming up at 7:30 Eastern on ABC tonight. And that'll do it. We've got Auburn-Tulane coming up next, as Georgia beats Murray State 63-17. The Dogs go to 2-0. And Jake Fromm and company with another good day. Jake going 10 for 11. He hit 8 straight, 166 yards and a touchdown. The run game churned out 269 on the ground. And the defense held that Murray State offense to just the 1 score. Coming up next, more college football, Tulane and Auburn. Now let's get you back to the studio with Kevin Emanuel and Coach Mora.